everyone, and welcome to Season 3, Episode 44 of Pro Wrestling's Top 50. I'm your host, Travis McNeil, and today we continue our countdown of the top 50 matches in ECW history with match number 7 on our list, which is the ECW World Television Championship match between the champion, Too Cold Scorpio, and the challenger, Shane Douglas, from the Matter of Respect 1996 event held on May the 11th of 1996. This match has a really cool, really interesting story that almost seems like it would be counterproductive, but it totally works. So we've talked in the past, Shane Douglas left ECW near the end of 95, came back in early 96. His run as Dean Douglas didn't really, come with much success. So he was back in ECW, and he made his intentions clear right from the get-go that he wanted back the ECW World Heavyweight title. Along the way, he hit this little speed bump where he was challenged to a match by Too Cold Scorpio, who was the television champion, and Shane Douglas basically, devalued the television title. He talked about how he didn't want the TV title, how it was secondary and meaningless compared to the world title, and that's something that, if you read it on paper or you listen to me describing it, you think, that's a terrible idea, right? Like that's, why would you devalue your title? But again, it's Paul Lee, it's 1996 ECW, there's a method to all of the madness on display, and this was one of them. So we have this match for the TV title. Shane Douglas, when the referee kind of, displays the title, that it's on the line, presents it to Douglas. Douglas actually grabs the title from the referee and throws it out to the arena floor. And there's lots of moments in this match where you can tell that Shane Douglas ultimately doesn't care about winning that title. He wants to win the match, of course. 1, more money for the winner of a match. 2, his ego. 3, winning over a top contender, would establish him, as being a top contender himself for the World Heavyweight title. There's many points where, Scorpio's on the floor and Shane Douglas is telling the referee, to start the count, right? Doesn't care if he wins by count out because he doesn't care about the title. And gradually through that match, you would start to see that shift. Now, on the flip side of the coin, I've talked at length now about Too Cold Scorpio and how I feel that he has these insecurities that come through, through the storyline of his matches where he often doesn't go for pins. And, he feels that if someone shows him up, that's a huge strike to his ego, and he needs to do what he, can do to show that he's the premier high flyer, the premier athlete, the premier wrestler in ECW in the eyes of the fans, and we get a lot of that here. So this match, goes almost a half hour, so it is lengthy, and it is so very, very excellent. One of, if not the best performance of Shane Douglas's entire career, in my humble opinion, and, certainly up there for Scorpio as well. So in the early going, we get just some really nice back and forth wrestling where Scorpio uses his athleticism to stay a little bit ahead of Douglas. And, that kind of makes Douglas go a little bit deep into his playbook, and we see some athleticism out of him that we wouldn't normally see. He hits like a resorte to counter an armbar and, busts out a beautiful standing drop kick. He does a pescado to the floor, just, really going deep, and that frustrates Scorpio. And that, we had a clean match up until this point, but that causes Scorpio, to throw a chair in the ring and get frustrated and start to let those insecurities show. From there, the aggression really starts to pick up in the match. They go more for punches and kicks. And then Douglas proceeds to just go on a run of absolutely brutalizing Too Cold Scorpio. And this is where that match starts to shift a little bit, where, Douglas is doing whatever he can to basically destroy this man, but Scorpio keeps fighting back, showing how important the TV title is to Too Cold Scorpio. So Douglas hits a move in this match that you may have seen, in GIF form before, where they're on the floor and he does basically like a variation of a slingshot suplex. So he picks Scorpio up for suplex, kind of runs him back into the ropes, and then proceeds to throw him forward, almost like a gourd buster over the guardrail. But Scorpio hits the guardrail and just ends up landing on his head on the floor. It is gross. It is a gnarly bump. Shane Douglas hits like a flapjack into the crowd, where he basically just tosses Scorpio up into the crowd on top of fans. We get a little bit of a crowd brawl, and then Shane Douglas proceeds to just powerbomb Too Cold Scorpio on the concrete floor at ringside. Just a brutal bump after brutal bump after brutal bump. It doesn't end there. Scorpio starts to get a little bit of an offensive run where he hits, the Kota Ibushi kind of cartwheel Pele kick, a moonsault off the apron, and then he goes into the Sabu playbook. So we talked about, the Scorpio and Sabu 30-minute draw from a couple months prior to this. So he lays Shane over a table and he goes for, a dive from the ring through the table. But before he goes for the dive, he notices Shane Douglas is no longer on the table. What Douglas did is he actually rolled off, went under the ring, came back up the other side, and attacked Scorpio from behind, which was really good and really clever. And that leads to Shane basically hitting like a running drop kick off the chair again, having to go deep into his playbook almost with the Sabu move of himself, kicking Scorpio off the top, and Scorpio lands head first on the table, which doesn't break on the floor. Again, just an absolutely gnarly, disgusting bump of the many that Scorpio took in this match. As we go into our finishing run, Scorpio gets like a wonderful looking super kick, very Chris Adams-esque out of nowhere. And this is where, Scorpio, after getting brutalized and kind of shown up a little bit by Douglas, this is where his bad habits start to come out. He hits the moonsault, doesn't cover. Hits the 450, doesn't cover. Hits a Vader bomb, which he twists into a leg drop, which was super cool. Doesn't cover. He's strutting around. He's, playing to the crowd, right? He's being too cold Scorpio. But as we've seen before, that can bite him in the butt. And it does as he goes for a top rope Hurricane Rana. Shane Douglas counters that into a super bomb from the top, which is kind of a cool little precursor to what would end up being, the Shane Douglas and Pitbull #2 feud that would last almost a year that was just about to kick off. Scorpio still manages to come back, but again, doesn't learn from his mistakes, goes up top again, gets cut off by Shane again, and it's actually a super belly-to-belly suplex, so Shane's finisher, the belly-to-belly, but off the top, that's enough to put Scorpio away for 3. And then this is where this match really succeeds. So you have this amazing, hard-fought, compelling, brutal, athletic, everything you would want out of a title match in ECW. You get this great match. Then Shane Douglas, does the 180 and puts over the TV title. So he cuts a promo, almost very similar to the one that he cut when he won the NWA World Heavyweight title before he eventually threw it down in a match that, ironically also, featured Too Cold Scorpio. So he cuts this promo and he's putting over the TV title, and you're kind of thinking, is he going to do the same thing, right? Is he going to throw it down because he's devalued the TV title through his promos and his actions in the match, but he doesn't. He talks about, what an honor it is to win this title. Again, just showing that, despite what your initial opinion is, that, like I said, there was a method to that madness of Paul Lee. And then we get a really great, kind of, I won't say like a heel turn for Scorpio because he was already pretty much a heel, but he was in that weird tweener because he's a heel that does cool moves. The crowd still kind of cheers for him. But Shane Douglas actually asks, as a sign of respect, this show is a matter of respect after all, that Scorpio, strap the TV title around Shane Douglas to pass that torch to him as the new champion. Scorpio proceeds to attack him though and hit a leg drop from the top with the title belt over Shane Douglas's face. And that would launch into, our summer feud where the belt would revolve between Scorpio and Douglas and Pitbull #2 and Chris Jericho before, a lot of those matches which have ended up on this countdown before Douglas would ultimately win it back in the 4-way dance at Heatwave 1996. The TV title, I've talked about it before, it was kind of the work rate title. It really became that way. Scorpio and Dean Malenko kind of kicked that off. Malenko and Guerrero, of course, throughout 95. And when Scorpio won it back in the summer of 95, when Guerrero and Malenko left, it kind of became stagnant. This match, really launched that off against, Sabu and Scorpio as well, but this started that hot summer around the TV title. And from here on out, the TV title would almost be on par, if not greater than the World Heavyweight title. We would get, the long Shane Douglas reign, followed by a long Taz reign. We would get the little blip in there with Bam Bam, but then we would get, the almost 2-year RVD reign where Van Dam would defend that title in high quality matches against all comers. So, this was really important for the television title, which was, a key part of ECW's history. This match is excellent. It's from an excellent show during my favorite period of ECW between two excellent wrestlers that I really don't feel get as much due nowadays as they should. You can check this match out, of course, on the WWE Network. It could be available on Peacock, I don't know, but you can track it down online, of course, if you look hard enough. You can subscribe to my channel here on YouTube so that you don't miss a video. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Wrestling50. And please join me again tomorrow as we continue to count down Pro Wrestling's Top 50. Top 50.